what do you think is a billionaire's favorite board gaming accessory?
Billionaires, board gaming, maybe their diamond-studded Switch watches, which they use as diapers.
Good job, your time's up.
Great, my time's up. Hey folks, what's up?
We are the Tumbling Bumblers.
Bumbling fumblers?
Rumbling Ramblers.
Dumpling fumbler?
We are the Bumbling Ramblers.
Bumbling ramblers, it is.
And today we bring to you 15 of the most obvious to the most obscure board gaming accessories.
To make your gaming great again. How do big birds keep their board games tidy?
Big birds. Big birds.
Yeah.
Big birds, an ibis, hornbill, a toucan. Oh, toucan trays.
Token trays, yay.
Token trays help us to avoid losing tokens because the tokens stay in one place. It makes it easy to pass around the tokens between the players. It reduces clutter, gives you better photos. You have less piles of tokens falling over each other. And backup and setup is easier because you are avoiding mixing up the tokens.
If you do not have token trays, you can always use bowls from your kitchen or dice trays. For bowls from your kitchen, there's also an alternative on Amazon, a cheap alternative, which is straw-shaped straw bowls.
Bowls made from wheat straw.
Bowls made from wheat straw, which are a sustainable alternative. And also the storage boxes, the token storage boxes, which these are organizers, which you can keep inside of your board game and just open them, put your tokens here, and pass it on whenever one needs them.
So they work as both a storage solution as well as token trays on the spot. Yeah, we have some examples here. You can also always use smaller expansion boxes.
These nested token trays that we have, pre-looking ones, we got them from Accessory, and they're 3D printed, they're easy to store, and can be used across games.
So what kind should you get? Get ones that have sloping edges like this, if you can see. If you have sharp 90-degree edges, it becomes harder to scoop the tokens out. So you want sloping edges. You want compact, stackable ones if you're going to carry them around. And multiple high contrast colors ensure that the tokens are easily visible inside. So which is why we have a light color. How do commitment phobes get a tattoo of their favorite board game?
Commitment phobes, tattoo, and board games. Maybe with a dry erase marker?
Yeah, then you can always change your favorite.
Dry erase marker, yeah, it's really helpful. So in games like these type set, they usually come with different colors of player cards, and you ask a person to choose their color. But the stock markers are usually black. Why not have the flexibility for a player to choose their color too? It adds diversity and playfulness to your brilliant board game.
You can also use these dry erase markers to write on a scoreboard or a laminated play rate or a score sheet. You can also laminate your roll and write sheets so that you don't run out of them, and then use markers instead of pencils over there. They're a great fidget toy while you're waiting for your turn. And if you're ever left with stubborn marks, a tip to get rid of them is to use anything with alcohol. I prefer using hand sanitizer.
In games like, say, Illustration, where you have to draw, each player gets a book with a specific spiral color. To me, I can always match my spiral color with the color of my pen that I'm using. What kind of markers to get? Maybe find things which have a pointed tip, which come with an eraser attached, and anything that's colorful. You will find a lot of options on Amazon, and we've attached some links in the description. So when a card escapes, how do you find its way home?
Card ran away.
Yeah, a runaway card.
Using a card trace.
Card trays.
TRACE.
TRAYS. Yeah.
Card trays are amazing because they make it easier to pick up cards. I hardly have nails, I bite them off. So when you have like a hard, smooth surface, it's very difficult for me to pick up cards from. These have a lip to ensure that it's easier to do that. It also makes sure that your card piles don't keep toppling over, and it makes it easier to differentiate between your draw pile, your discard pile, and your deck. So yeah, you can have different sections for different kinds of cards.
We bought these really colorful 3D printed card trays from Accessory, and they're about 100 rupees for a tray, which is a little more than $1. What you need to be looking at when you buy your card trays is that there is a downward incline, which helps you draw the card easier, and there is a lip here, which helps you put the thumb underneath the card and draw it like that. So a lip and an incline is what you need to be looking for, and the combination of draw discard together.
This is an excellent example of a draw discard combination. You draw from here, you discard into this portion over here.
Yeah, we have put some links in the description. Do have a look.
Riddle. Whom do you call when your dice break down on the way to a game night?
Dice breaking down. Dice store?
Yeah, dice tower.
Dice tower, yay. Dice, when we roll them, they have a tendency to run away, fall from your table, and hide under the furniture. Yeah, but when you roll them in a cup or a dice tower or a dice tray, none of that happens. And you always avoid disputes because of a precarious roll.
Yeah. Best way to roll the dice, just put the cup upside down. They don't run away then. If you don't have a dice cup or a dice tray or a dice tower, you can always use small game boxes, small expansion boxes. You can just use plastic cups from your kitchen. And we got our dice tray from Zatu Games in the UK. It is flat packable, foldable, so it very easily fits into any game box. These dice cup obviously came with the game dice towers. Dice cup, dice tower. What's this called?
Dice words.
Dice words. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of a bag does a board game fashionista like?
A board gamer who's also a fashionista. Bags and shoes, of course. What kind of bag? A bag that can carry board games. Flat bottom bag.
Flat bottom bags, yeah.
Well, flat bottom bags, great. They are the easiest way to carry board games. You can carry board games flat instead of upright, so the components stay in place. You don't have to carry them vertical, you can carry them just horizontal. If you don't have board game bags, the next best alternative is like an IKEA bag or something similar. We also have a company called Board Game Doodads that is making board game duffel bags. Do check them out. What kind should you get? Make sure they have a zip close. That's always useful to keep the board games clean. They should have handles so you can carry them. Made sturdy handles, durable. This one is also waxed canvas inside. That helps to keep it somewhat water resistant, so like it can tolerate a drizzle. And foldable, so when it's not in use, you can put it away.
Yeah, it's flat pack. And
we got ours from Amazon, and you'll have a link to a similar bag in the description.
Okay, great.
Hi.
Hi.
What happened to you?
What happened to me? Nothing. What happened to you?
What happened to me?
Yeah.
I'm the same. Nothing happened to me.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing happened to me either.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Let's start this with a even funnier joke.
Yeah.
What does a medic give to a player with a bruised ego?
Oh, a medic is first aid, but a player needs a player aid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. A medic gives a player a player aid. Okay.
So, why do we like player aids?
Because they make the game easy to understand. When someone's explaining a game, it's easier to explain and comprehend the actions that one needs to take.
Yeah.
It is easier to understand and refer to the iconography that the game board has or the components have when it's there in your player aid.
Yeah.
And
when I'm teaching a game, I really like it that I have the same player in front of me. The person I'm teaching to has the same player in front of them, and then I can tell them what are the phases of the game, what are the different types of actions that they can take, and they know where to look to find out what their options are, and they know where to look to figure out what is going to happen next. And they don't have to interrupt my world domination plans with their stupid questions.
Oh, people ask stupid questions.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, if it's on the player, then it's a stupid question. If it's not on the player, you can ask me.
No question is stupid, Kunal. Just because you have world domination plans, you can't call questions stupid.
Fine, ask her the stupid questions.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Then what kinds of player aids do we use?
Right.
So player aids, one is usually say a table reference. Fewer in number, We keep them at the center of the table, and everybody can use them. Then, of course, a player aid, which is with every player, describing the steps, or maybe if it's a game with multiple factions, so what their factions can do, their powers, etc.
Every faction has its own reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, a table reference is more detailed, a player aid that everybody has. So a table reference is something that you maybe refer like once in 3-4 turns. So you can share the table reference across the table.
Yeah.
But player aid is more high level. So everybody has a copy of their own for a quick reference.
Yeah. Similar to a player reference, there's also a scoring reference. Sometimes when scoring is complex, each person can strategize their game by knowing how much they scored and in what arenas they scored.
Yeah. We use a scoring aid for Concordia. We'll show you.
Anything else? Any other kind of reference that we have?
No, that's all. But where do we get our player aids?
Sometimes on BGG. Helpful people just make a good player aid and upload on the game, the files for that specific game on BGG. And a lot of times, good games have great player aids. And
I love it when a game comes with an in-the-box player aid and I don't have to bother looking for a new one or making a new one. But we also make a lot of our own player aids when we find that what's on Board Game Geek is not good enough. Which happens with games that are not that popular.
Yeah. What I like about games which have good player aids is that it matches the color themes, it fits into the box. There is not extra cognitive load that you have to take of thinking of making a good player aid.
Yeah. I think a good player aid should follow the same iconography as the game itself. It should match the theme and the language of the game. It should be compact and still be complete, and in line with the game's visual design also. I encourage people to make your own player aid and put it up, and or otherwise print what you can find and laminate it and use it with your games.
Yeah. Another thing, I would want a player aid to be small and succinct. It should not be another rule book that one is writing. And I, being a visual person, I enjoy something which is like a flow chart. It tells me this is step 1, this is step 2. It tells me the order of my actions, and sometimes even what is a legal move, what's not legal, things like that.
And then there are situations with games like Dune where even the rule book doesn't cover some corner situations and you're left wondering what happens in this case.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that? We upload the rule books to an AI and ask it questions, which makes it easier than looking through the rule books yourself, looking for those specific things yourself. With Dune, because of the amount of confusion there's at least 2-3 different versions of FAQs also that have been published. And it just helps to have them all in one place. We use Notebook LM for this. Just dump all the rule books and the FAQ PDFs on Notebook LM and ask it questions. Again, we'll show you all of this. Let's start with showing you some of the in-box amazing players.
Let's start with fishing. It is a small box, very cute box, cute game. Friedman-Fries game, so very succinct. But let's not describe the game here. Look at these player aids. One leaf of a player aid, and this is enough to talk about it doesn't explain the flow of the game, but what do certain cards do, and very helpful.
This is a perfect example of explaining iconography on a player aid. These are icons you find on the cards, and this tells you what each of those icons does.
Yeah. And the next one, harmonies. Oh, look at this. This says that this is a player aid. So it tells you what do you do in your game, in your turn. What is mandatory, what is optional, and that's the end game.
Go ahead.
Right. That's a large version of a player aid.
That's what I would call a table reference. That is one copy shared across everyone. This is a player aid for harmonies. There's one for each player, and it tells you how the different terrains score. There are 2 versions of the game, so both the versions are on the player aid.
Now, this table reference, I would say, also helps you in explaining the game when you're playing it for the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So a table reference like this would be nice if you're using it as a teacher. Yeah. The next one, Pax Premier is one of our favorite games. Oh, I forgot this. And this is a conflict game, Pax Premier. It plays up to 5 people, 5 players, and it has 2 player aids in the box. Now this talks about what is your turn structure, how do you win, then what are different icons that you will see in your cards, and what action does each icon do. A perfect example of beautiful iconography and action related to each icon. And then there's also a small flow chart. So if this, then you do this. When this happens, then you move to this action. A great player aid.
Yeah. It has both iconography as well as all the different actions you can take put into one. So,
Yeah.
all right. Then there are some play aids that did come with the game that we have made ourselves. Citadel Confluence is my absolute favorite game of all time. It's a trading and negotiation game. It has 18 different factions that you can pick from. This is a list of the factions, which helps you pick what faction you want. This is an example of a faction reference that I've made. So you can see the different metrics of the faction. You can look at the background of the faction, what are the traits it has, and some advice for how to play this faction as well. This is also one of those games that has a bunch of phases and different things that happen in a phase. So there's a sequence of things that happen that you need to be aware of, and we have some aids for that. This is it. So it tells you the game and scoring. It tells you that we have 6 rounds, what happens in the trade phase, what happens in the economy phase, and then what happens in the confluence phase. Yeah, these are the different aids we have for Citadel Confluence, and just absolutely adore this game. It does come with a teaching guide in the box, which is also helpful, but it still needs the references. There are faction references that it has, but they're cardboard references and they don't fit in this box with the expansion, so we don't have them over here. But they're also like really dense and text-based, so I prefer the ones that I have created because they're easier to comprehend at a glance and just grok at a glance and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, then we have a couple of games designed by Future Pastimes, Dune, and with all of the expansions. So this is where we upload the rule books and stuff. We made our own play rates for this as well.
In Dune, for every faction, there's a lot of information that the player needs to remember. So faction references are pretty dense.
Yeah. There are 9 phases in the game. This is a table reference explaining all the 9 phases. But then there are also faction-specific things that happen in those phases, which is all there in the faction reference. This is an example of a faction reference. This is the setup and sort of statistics of the faction, the sort of numbers that you need to know. And then on this side, we have per phase what you need to keep into account when playing with this faction. What are things you need to consider? There are some things that are more generic that apply to everyone. There are some things that are specific to the faction, which are highlighted in the faction color. But that is not enough. We have a play rate as well, which has a bunch of things that come into play from the different expansions and what you need to be aware of about what those things can end up doing to your game. And then there's also the faction list, because again we have 12 factions. You need to know whom you're up against and what they can do, but at the same time this also helps to choose your faction, see a summary of all the factions, see what you want, what you like. So a whole lot of players in there. And finally there's Cosmic Encounter, which is another Future Pastimes game. So again, has a whole lot of phases. They have something for phases. Here's Cosmic Encounter, and we made some play rates for this. This is our table reference, which tells us things in more detail. These are different phases, and then this is how you resolve encounters in detail. But then we have play rates for each player, which are much smaller. They have the different phases as well as the encounter resolution in very brief over here. And there's also a glossary, because there are a bunch of terms that you encounter in your faction sheet and in your cards and other places. So this glossary helps you to interpret those things. So that's Cosmic Encounter for you. Now, on the screen, I can show you some more of these things in a little bit more detail and where you can find them and what they look like. Here is a game of Concordia going on. Here you can see our scoring aids. These are the scoring aids that we use for Concordia. These are basically scoring tables. You can just go into the table and circle what you're scoring for each different card. This is the actual scoring aid on Board Game Geek that we have uploaded. This is a screenshot of it. This is what it looks like. So for example, let's say it's the Mercurius card that we're talking about. You look at how many of those cards you have and how many other types of goods that you produce, and then you just find the intersection and circle that, and that's the score you have for that card. Then these are the Dune play rates on Board Game Geek that we have uploaded as well. You can see them here. This is how to use the play rates because Dune is so complex and there's so many of them, different types of aids, that we have to include this. This is the factions list that we talked about. You can see that we've used the faction iconography from the game as well and similar colors. This is the table reference for the different phases. And then these are the different treasury cards, different stronghold cards, discovery tokens, a few different things that you need to be aware of that can happen. And then this is each faction having its own reference. Some of the statistics over here, and then phase-wise special things. Yeah. This is Notebook LM. This is us using AI to figure out rules and corner cases and FAQs. So here I'm going to ask you the question. You can see I have uploaded all the different things over here. These include the original rulebook, the 3 rulebooks for the 3 different expansions, and an FAQ PDF that was published separately. So I'm asking it between the Bene Gesserit voice, which is a battle power that the Bene Gesserit has, and an Atreides pre-science, which is a battle power that Atreides faction has, who goes first in a battle. And I'm asking it to also quote the exact source where it finds this rule, so that I can go into it and confirm it if I want myself, because sometimes AI can be wrong. So here's me ask the question, and let's see what it's able to tell us. So it says, in a battle where both Bene Gesserit and Atreides pre-science are used, the Bene Gesserit voice must be used first. Exact rule is found in the question and answer section of the rule book under the battle heading, where the exact quote is, the Bene Gesserit voice must always be used before the Atreides pre-science. And this is where you can confirm it by going to the specific file, and you can go to the specific page and find that. It also gives us some additional information, which is great to have under the same context. This is the Cosmic Encounter play rate that we just saw. Screenshots of it over here, and this is the Cosmic Encounter table reference also that we just saw. More detailed, tells you exactly what you need to do. This is the Citadel Confluence play rate with the different phases. We saw that as well, and this is the Citadel Confluence factions, which is over here. You have the faction list as well as the faction references. One of the sort of nice things about doing this is you also sometimes get the game designer themselves comment on it. I think I have it in a different place where the game designer also gave me feedback, which is just like nice. It's just rewarding. Tichu is a game that we recently got. It is not very easy to understand first off when you're beginning to play it, and I really liked this play rate I found on Board Game Geek for Tichu. This is what it looks like. It is card sized, card shaped, so you print it, you laminate it that way, and you put it in the same box, and it looks just like a card. And it tells you what the different 4 special cards can do with the special conditions of when you can and cannot play it and so on. I really like how detailed this is. And looking at this, I also realized that we made a mistake once when we didn't realize that the Phoenix cannot be played in a bomb. And you can see over here in the bomb, the Phoenix is crossed out, as well as in the Phoenix over here, it's mentioned that cannot be played in a bomb. So all these corner case rules that you sometimes don't notice or don't remember are pointed out in a good play rate, and this is one of those examples.
Yeah, I think when selecting a play rate on BGG, you don't have to commit to one. You can always find new files that work for you.
Yeah.
And when they work, print and laminate.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing happened. We initially found really nice play rates for Dune, and we used them for a few games until we realized that there are some things that we would like more, and some things that are not there from the expansions in it. So we ended up making our own Otherwise, the effort was not justified because there were some really good play rates already made by other people.
Yeah.
Why did the board game go weak in the knees and say I do?
Why did the board game go weak in the knees?
Yeah.
Say I do.
Because it slipped in smoothly and fit perfectly.
What's living? The ring?
No, a custom insert.
Oh God. Okay.
Right.
Custom insert.
Yeah, so why do we like inserts and organizers?
They make packing, unpacking, playing easy.
Yeah, setup becomes much faster.
Yeah.
And then there's an inherent Marie Kondo joy of organizing things and
Yeah.
optimizing things. Too many baggies is a pain. It gets confusing, what goes in what baggie when you're packing up, and then one baggie is missing, and then where do you put the rest of the stuff? And does this belong in this size baggie or does that belong in that size baggie?
It's this joy of opening a game box and knowing that everything is in its right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like how it makes player setup so much easier. You just give the player one box or one bag of here's all of your components that you need for your setup, and you can just do it, and you don't have to like fish out those things from different places.
Yeah, we do that in Concordia
Yeah.
and
Great
GW.
Western Trail. Yeah.
Great Western Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there are Oink games specifically that are so compact, the boxes are so tight that the lid doesn't completely close unless you pack very carefully and you flat pack everything,
Yeah.
which is like it takes 20 minutes to pack. So inserts just make the whole process easier.
Yeah. The when we did not have an insert for such games, the box was just slightly open and
Very irritating. What are the things we use for organizing our games?
plastic boxes, self-adhesive tape.
These are
So-
plastic boxes.
Yeah, these are boxes of all sizes. What we make sure is that we buy things with rounded edges, so that whenever we want to use them as token trays, it's easier to pull things out of these. And again, of different sizes depending on the components that go into them. There is the self-adhesive tape, which is somewhat like a Velcro tape, where it sticks only to itself and not the card. And stacking cards with this, making groups of things with this, is very easy.
Here's an example. We have wrapped our tissue deck in this self-adhesive bandage tape, it's called. We get game-specific inserts only in situations where these regular versatile boxes don't suffice and where setup becomes even faster because of a custom insert. An example is Black Forest. We'll show you a video, but it has a grid of buildings, and to set up that grid every time in the same order, the buildings have to be a specific order, is something you can shortcut and bypass by just storing the buildings in that order on the grid itself. So it makes the grid permanent. We'll show you a video of that later. And then opaque drawbacks is something we use where we need to randomize the setup. For example, in Clans of Caledonia, there are different round scoring bonuses that you get, and they're randomized. And we just do that with the drawing from the bag.
Yeah.
There's also stock inserts. We like our stock inserts. Some of the games come with good stock inserts, so you don't need to buy an insert. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about games that have stock inserts.
Here's Pax Pamir again.
So, Pax Pamir, you can see they have a nice plastic screen before you reach the components. It opens like this. The molded plastic insert is somewhat like this. It stays in there, but these are player bags. But there's a tray for the
Blocks.
Yeah, and you can easily take them out, get them back in, and everything stays in place. Excellent game stock insert.
So this comes out as a tray for play because we need these blocks during play. Everything else goes to the players as is. There's also this beautiful cloth mat that we love, and there's a nice little space for it to just go rolled up over here. Gorgeous game, gorgeous insert, gorgeous components. Another one is Undaunted, also one of our favorites, two-player war game. There was Undaunted Normandy first, then there was Undaunted North Africa, and then for both of those, they created a joint expansion called Undaunted Reinforcements. And for the Undaunted Reinforcements box, they made it so that both the stock games, as well as both the base games, as well as this expansion, fit into one box. And this is it. This is the insert. Everything is in one single box. Everything is over here. It doesn't need to be more complex than this. In this case, you have your cards over here, cards for the other factions over here. You have the map tiles over here, and then you have some vehicles and solo cards over here.
Yeah.
And just simple, elegant, not complicated at all.
All the rule
Easy.
books fit into this, and it says something about the game designers when they think of organization and letting all the expansions fit into one box. That they've given it a thought.
Then we have mind management. This has a bunch of modules that are extra that can go, that look like cassettes. I really like how they look, and that are all in this thing. So they're used to balance the game for the different sides. These are the different ones. This is how they look. So you take one of them, open them, and use the components. You take another, use that, and it is all based on how different sides are doing. And you can use multiple of them. You can use some of them. You can discover them as you go along. You don't have to use all of them at once. They add like small additional rules, and then underneath that is the very simple insert. Here's the game board. Here's one of the player screens, and we have the cards, the markers, the tokens, everything over here in this one simple insert. So again, super elegant.
So the scout, which is an annoying game, like you can see, it's a small box. It was difficult for things to fit in here, and they had to be flat packed before they go in. So this insert, which is a 3D printed insert, has nice spaces for each component. This is the biggest component, which is tightly fit here. Then these are the points for which there is a stacked column. These are the markers for we're going to do scout. These are your points. Everything goes neatly into the box, fits tight, and the box closes, which is a big deal. Another rhyme game, Startups. A pretty 3D insert.
Comes out like that, and then you have the cards underneath.
Yeah.
With all the cards.
I really like how every component is stacked, and the chances of losing them are small.
Cool. And then there are games we have organized ourselves. Great Western Trail. This came with these baggies for randomized setup, but the main thing we want to show you really is this, which is the box for the red player. It has all the red player cows, it has the red player buildings, red player tokens, red player meeple, and all of that can just go on the red player board, and that's it. Setup is as simple as that. You don't have to find these things in 10 different places. There are other things in other baggies and all of that, but that's not the point over here. This is the main thing we wanted to show. And then Citadel Conference has a bunch of things organized in these acrylic boxes as well. There are a lot of cubes in this game because it's a trading and negotiation game, but also a lot of cards, and the cards are for the different factions. So this is one of the factions, there's another faction, so there's a whole bunch of cards for different factions. But when it comes to the tradable components, this is going to be something to pack again. This is how we use the boxes as token trays as well. And this takes like up to 9 players, so sometimes we're sitting far, so we have 2 of these to go around and be in different corners of the table. Yeah, these are the bigger cubes and also the smaller cubes.
I was saying that it is something of a jigsaw to fit. You make one layer and then you add other baggies on top of it. This also ensures that sometimes the components don't move, and when you have the box vertically, things are not falling off.
Yeah, that's especially important in your custom inserts, that you make sure that they are compatible with vertical storage, because if not, things can just slide around when you store it vertically or carry it vertically. We got some inserts from Folded Space. They make foam inserts that you have to then stick together. This is the version we have for Concordia. You can see here there are trays that get that can be used from the insert itself. You can just take the trays out, and then the trays together pack up into the box and pack the game up nicely. So there's that. We also had folded space inserts for Roll for the Galaxy. This is how that looks. You can see that again, these are things that can just be taken out. And like I was saying, they should be compatible with vertical storage. They are reasonably okay with that. If the boxes are especially closed tightly with the rubber band, they're fine. But if the lid gets any lift somehow, if the lid moves out of the box, if the lid is loose, then things can slide around. And because there's no lids to these specific trays, and which is also a reason to prefer these boxes, because they're already lidded. So there's that. Then we have a custom insert 3D printed that we bought for Pipeline, and this is what it looks like. You can see that over here these token boxes are lidded, which helps. These things can't slide around, so this is amazing for vertical storage. Not a problem at all. And we have these different trays for the different components. The reason we got an insert for this was because there were way too many baggies going into this game otherwise, and this just makes it much easier to set up as well as pack up and have things in their place. On the top right, there are these order tokens and contract tokens that are also separated across 3 different categories. And unless you keep them separate in 3 different baggies, you have to separate them every time you set up the game, which was also a pain. So it's nice to just have it in these different slots over here. This is Black Forest. This is again a 3D printed insert we got, which you'll see you have to set up these buildings over here on this board. There are numbers to it, and each building has to go into a specific slot. And to pack the buildings that way with them numbered exactly that way is a pain. But instead here in this insert, we have them on a grid. It's a fixed grid, so you never have to put them into a baggie or anything. And these are also player trays that you have, so every player can just take their player tray and get set up. And you'll see with the buildings that you can just take the whole thing and put it as is on the building board. So you don't have to sort the buildings every time you set up. How does a gambler fund his board gaming hobby?
Gambler who has a board gaming hobby.
Yeah.
With poker money.
Yeah. Poker money.
Poker money. So we have a set of iron clays which we use as game money in various games wherever there's money, because they feel better, they look better, they can be stat better, and they sound better. Click clack. Also, when your opponent has an entire stack of 1s or 20s or 5s in front of them, you can know how much money they have, and the game gets very competitive. So, which doesn't happen in cardboard money. And some games give you upgrades, and they're often metal coins.
Yeah, this is an enthusiast tier accessory that you should consider investing in. And game-specific upgrades are also great. What kind should you get? I think a neutral kind that have a neutral theme, which makes it easy to use with any game, is amazing. You don't want them looking too oriental or too western, something that can work across both. Different shapes and different sizes help to distinguish between the different denominations or different colors. In this case, we have different colors for the different denominations. If you're getting poker money, then they have these things on the sides, these small marks that make it easy to distinguish how many are there in a stack when you look at it from the side. So you can easily count the marks and count how many there are. And you want them to be stackable, you want them to be weighty, you want them to feel good in your hands. That's how you select your Pokemon. We got our Roxleys. So these Roxleys are made by a company called Roxley, which is a publisher that publishes the Brass Birmingham and Brass Lancashire games. But these counters are available independent of those games as well, which is how we got them. You can also find similar coins, metal coins for different themes on Etsy or Amazon.
So now you can never blame anyone for dealing a bad deal because
We got the Systemic Homogeneity Untangler, Fairness Facilitator, Luck Equalizer, and Randomizer, or Shuffler.
Shuffler, the card shuffler. This is an automatic card shuffler, which also has a manual button. We got this from Amazon. It cost us about 3K INR.
Those are people who have midlife crisis. Then you heard the Pink Floyd song going, running around the same old ground, what have we found? What do the people do when traumatized by that song in his midlife?
Midlife crisis, running around. What have we found? They moved to a new board.
Yeah, they moved to a new map.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because a bigger map, everything is legible, it's easier to play. With higher player counts, when things are spaced out on a bigger map, things just become easy.
Yeah, we know the size of a board gaming table. Everybody across the table should be able to see what's going on the map.
Yeah, there's better design, better iconography, maybe colors, and everything works for a larger group of people.
Yeah, better legibility, better aesthetics.
Yeah.
Let's look at some examples. This is a map of Dune, which is a game that we run a championship for, and we have a lot of games of it with 6 players. This map is small for 6 players. Here's an alternative that we found on Board Game Geek, and here's one that we actually printed on canvas, and this is in use in a session of Dune. You can see another photo of this, and here's how it looks in play. This map has redesigned territories so that it's easier to fit forces within those territories. But also another game is Heat Pedal to the Metal that has a lot of fan-made circuits that you can find if you go to Board Game Geek and if you go to the files section within the game over there. Here's some that I really like. This is somebody who's printed the Montjuic, Barcelona and Nürburgring in Germany map on a neoprene mat on both sides. Here's another one from Monaco. It looks gorgeous, and I'm just waiting to get one of my own. Here's Francorchamps in Belgium, and here's Suzuka in Japan, and finally this is Imola in Italy.
How did the board game host lead the board gamers out of their disinterest in her favorite game?
Gamers were bored.
Yeah.
I don't like those people.
They're board gamers.
Yeah. Okay, so this person led them out of their disinterest. Leaderboards. Yeah.
Leaderboards.
Yeah. You play the game again and again. You have a reason to play it again and again. So
Yeah.
a leaderboard. Yeah.
Great.
What are some games that this works with?
Maybe strategy games, complex games where the game is revealing new things with every play, where the game has too many things to think about, and every time a player plays it, it's a new game that's revealed to them.
Yeah, games that have enough depth that multiple plays are rewarding even with the same group. And you're together learning as a group, you're together honing your strategies as a group, you're together becoming better competition for each other.
Yeah.
Especially games with asymmetric factions, I really like that, that you can approach it from different perspectives with different advantages and disadvantages. That's just really fun.
Yeah. We are running certain championships for our games like the Dune, which is very complex, which takes a lot of time and energy into reading and understanding what each faction does. And every time you play it with a different faction, we have all the expansions. So every time we play it with a different faction, the game changes entirely. Maintaining a leaderboard there has been rewarding and exciting and difficult at the same time.
Guess how many factions we have for Dune?
I don't know.
12.
12. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And similarly, one of my favorite games is Digital Confluence, and we don't have a championship for it yet, but it has 18 factions.
Oh, that's crazy. So many aliens to play
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
Yeah.
14 factions in Gaia Project without the expansion, even more with the expansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, we run championships of games that have something in common. So there are lessons that are portable from one game to another, games that have a common set of mechanics. So one we have running is for our geo-economic Euros. So these are Euro games where you're managing your resources, but you're also focused on a map. So there's a geographical aspect to it. There's a competition on a map.
Yeah, some games there are like Concordia, which is a game that I absolutely love, and I'm also the leader in that leaderboard, leading with many, many points.
Yeah.
Again, the complexity that Concordia offers is that every time you can devise a newer strategy every time when you play the game of optimization. That's the beautiful play for me.
Yeah. What's also amazing about games in a championship is you can have a ladder of progression through them. So you learn something from one game, you reach a higher level of complexity, you try something a little bit more difficult in the same line of things. So that's how our Geoeconomic Euros Championship is structured. Let's. Oh yeah. So why? So this is the kind of games it works for, right? But why do we want championships and why do we want leaderboards?
Yeah, I think an interesting way to put it is that you want people engaged through different periods of time across months, and just one play of such a game that took maybe a long time to design and get to the table, to the market. It isn't fair to just play it once. To understand the depth of the game and keep people engaged, a leaderboard is an excellent tool.
Yeah. It's better than playing one game at a time than moving on to another game with a different group. You develop better player relationships by playing with the same people again and again, and playing the same game again and again. You develop a relationship with the game itself as a group, which is also really cool. And you have these people engaged across sessions for months on end instead of just engaged for one game at a time. It also creates healthy competition within the game across the session. So, for example, if I lose one standalone session, that's the end of the story. But if I lose a game in a championship, I have a chance at a comeback.
Yeah.
And I can try a different strategy, I can try a different approach, and see what comes out of it.
Like the games we have, which is in the Geoeconomic Championship, a game which is easier helps you build a skill which you can apply to the game which is slightly more complex and slightly more complex, and by the time you reach to Gaia Project you have sort of practiced those mechanisms through playing different games.
Yeah. Cool. Let's look at some of these leaderboards that we have. This is our ladder to the Dune Championship. So we have progression over here going from Cosmic Encounter to Pax Premier. Since then, we've also introduced The King is Dead at level 0 over here, and Innis at level 1.5 kind of a thing. This is our Dune Championship leaderboard, and we have the main scoreboard over here, where we have all of the different players and all the different factions that they have scored points with. The black line is how many games they have participated, how many games they've played, and the white line is the average score per game. And this is how the different factions have performed over time. We have played a lot of games with Bene Gesserit. Bene Gesserit managed to reach 3 points, where Atreides, 6 games, has reached 4 points, which is a really amazing ratio. The Emperor has exactly the same ratio of 4 points across 6 games. So these are the leading factions as of now, but there are some factions that haven't played enough games. So we have the Ixians, Mauritani, Richies over here, as well as the Ikas, which have all played just 1 game. And a couple of games for Tleilaxu and just 3 games for Chom. So as these go through more games, they should be performing better. That is our Dune Championship. This is our Geoeconomic Championship. We were talking about like a progression over here. So we start with Hansa Teutonica, then we go to Concordia, then Fayum, then Clans of Caledonia, Great Western Trail, and Gaia Project. So this is the progression that we will go through. And this is our leaderboard for the Geoeconomic Euros Championship. You can see Akanksha's at the top. We have made it a point to avoid people having an advantage from just winning one game and then running away. So we have a fan bonus, which also keeps people coming back. The more you play, the slightly better advantage you have. So Akanksha, having played 5 games, has a slightly bigger multiplier over here. Same with me. There are people who play lesser games who have a lesser multiplier. This also shows you how people are doing at each game, and then also how each person is doing across the different games. So you can look at your own performance. You can look at how different games have a leaderboard of their own, and this is where we have all the sessions. So this is a tool called Coda that we used for this. I really like the tool, and the June Championship leaderboard was on Google Sheets.
I forgot to add, every time we play a game, we publish a little story about how the game went, how it turned, where it turned, which faction took over, and we publish the leaderboard stats as well.
How do you trap a board gamer in a box of stereotypes and cliches?
Oh, trapping a board gamer in a box of stereotypes and cliches. By a label maker.
You stamp them with a label.
Yeah, I stamp them with a label. Like how I'm going to do now. This beautiful label maker. It has letters and numbers, and I want to stamp that board gamer with Hey. H. E. And Y.
Got it.
And cut it here. Cutting it. Now I have labeled the board gamer with. Here it comes. The Hey. I did a space in between. Yeah. The label maker comes with cartridges, or which are of different colors. And why would you need a label maker? Because you own too many games, and while selecting your games, you might want to pick them by category, by player count, by complexity, and you can organize your games with a lovely label maker.
You can also label and print your print and play games. We have a few of them that we have labeled with this label maker. If you don't have this label maker, an alternative is to use paper tape or washi tape and then write on it with some permanent markers. We can also get a sticker printer.
We have about a little more than 100 games, and you can see pictures of how we have organized our board gaming shelves by categories like party games, conflict games, Euro games.
What kind of label maker should you get? Get something that is ideally inkless, which means it's either embossing like this one or with a thermal printing mechanism so that you don't have to replace the cartridges of ink. We got this one from Amazon for about 1,000 Indian rupees, and we have some options in the description for you to consider.
What's a bunch of acronyms that would really excite a hands-on dad gamer?
A hands-on dad is a DIY dad. So DIY is an acronym, and then P&P, print and play. Yeah.
DIY PNP. That's the acronym. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that great? You can print card games and more at home. This helps you, especially in markets where games are difficult to source, and you can bypass customs by just printing your games at home. You can also make your own play rates. What do you need for this? You obviously need a printer. You need some paper, ideally some card paper so that you have good quality cards that you're printing. You need a laminator sometimes. You need lamination sheets for it. You need a cutting board. You need a cutting blade and corner cutter so that you don't leave your sharp corners to be damaged. You turn them into rounded corners.
Mm-hmm. Make sure that whenever you are printing these games, the print and play games are available legally, so you should have bought them with the right rights. And an alternative to doing it DIY is, of course, going to a printing shop and getting it printed there.
What's well built, soft inside, smooth to touch, and every passionate board gamer's wet dream?
Well built, soft, smooth to touch, and someone's wet dream. Oh, passionate board gamer's wet dream. It has to be a board gaming table. Yeah. It is the best experience to host a game and play a game in a well-built board gaming table. Period. There's nothing like it. It's easy to draw and lift cards. There are usually cup holders and places where you can place your drinks or food while you're playing the game. And more often than not, these tables convert into a coffee table or a dining table, so dual purposes.
If you don't have a board gaming table, you can use a soft touch sheet to cover up a regular table, so you get the same soft touch finish and feel. We have often used throws for this. You can just use any kind of tablecloth. You can also use neoprene play mats, or you can have a table on top of a table, so your board game is at a higher level and the food and drinks at the lower level to avoid the risk of spillage. Ours is custom made over here in India. It costs us about 70,000 rupees for the table and the well itself, and about 30,000 for the inside mats and the outside cup holders. outside of India, there are a bunch of wonderful people who make. There's Wormwood, there's Rathskellers, there's Geek and Sun. You'll find links to all of those in the description.
How does Ethan Hawke make sure that he gets all the angles of a board gaming session?
Ethan Hawke,
Yeah.
Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible.
Uh-huh.
He tends to come down from the roof.
Uh-huh.
So maybe a camera hanging from the roof that is looking at the board gaming table, but all the better if it's a 360-degree camera because then it can capture all the players and the table all at once. The best thing about it is that it covers all the angles simultaneously, so you only have to focus on your game and edit the perspective after the game in the editing studio. The alternative is having a dedicated person moving around with the camera, which is not a great thing to do, or have multiple cameras for multiple angles.
We got an Insta360, but any 360-degree camera is a costly investment. So only if you're serious about shooting your board gaming content, then buy one. And even if it's short-form content, a 360-degree camera is always helpful. So these were our top 15 obvious to obscure board game accessories. Let us know which one did you like and what's your favorite.
Which was the dumbest joke, and what joke did you laugh the hardest at?
Yeah.
Do comment, like, share, and subscribe.
See you later.